All right, let's dive into some personal finance stuff today.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
We're going to Malaysia today. Virtually, of course.
Okay, I'm ready.
There's this blog post that came out today.
Oh, very fresh.
Yeah, it's called Simple Steps to Never Worry About Money Again, Your Essential Financial Guide in Malaysia.
Okay, so no more money worries after this deep dive then.
That's what they say. We'll see about that.
And what's the blog?
It's called Money Moves Malaysia.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
It's got some good stuff, really. Whether you're already super into planning your finances or just curious about making your money work harder in Malaysia.
Right, there's always something new to learn.
Especially with you here to break it all down for us.
Always happy to help connect the dots.
So first up, they talk about spending less than you earn.
Oh, that's like the golden rule, isn't it?
It does sound kind of basic, right?
Yeah, but I think it's where a lot of people struggle.
For sure. It's easy to get caught up.
Absolutely, and the blog does a good job of explaining why it's so important.
Like how it all ties into the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's not just about penny pinching, it's about building a solid foundation for your financial life.
Yeah, and they get into the specifics too.
Like actually tracking your spending, which can be eye-opening.
Right. You might be surprised where your money's actually going.
It happens to the best of us.
And they talk about needs versus wants.
That's so key.
And embracing frugal living.
Which, by the way, they make it very clear, is not about deprivation.
I was going to say, that word always scares me off.
It's about being smart and finding value for your money, which I love.
Yes, being intentional with your choices.
And they mention the 50-30-20 rule, which is a great framework for that.
Ooh, the 50-30-20. That's a good one.
Do you use that?
I do. It's really helped me get a handle on my spending.
It's so simple but effective, right?
Totally.
50% for your needs, 30% for your wants, and 20% for savings and debt repayment.
Yeah, it's like a good starting point, but they also emphasize that you can adjust those percentages.
Absolutely. It's not one size fits all.
Like if you're really focused on saving for a house or early retirement.
Exactly. You might want to shift those numbers around.
So it's all about figuring out what works best for you and your goals.
Which is what personal finance should be all about.
Now, the next thing they talk about is building a financial safety net.
Okay, the emergency fund.
Exactly. They have this great analogy. They say life throws curveballs.
That's a good one.
And your emergency fund is how you catch them.
I like that. Makes it very visual.
It does. And honestly, thinking about it that way makes it seem less daunting.
It's true. Having that cushion can really help with financial peace of mind.
Especially in today's world.
And the blog really emphasizes that.
And they tie it back to the first point, spending less than you earn.
Right, because if you're already doing that, saving for emergencies becomes much easier.
It all connects, doesn't it?
They also talk about the 3-6-month rule.
Oh, yeah. The classic emergency fund guideline.
3-6 months worth of living expenses saved up.
It does sound like a lot.
It can be, especially when you're first starting out.
But the blog does a good job of saying that it's the ideal, not necessarily the starting point.
Right. The important thing is to start somewhere and be consistent.
Even if it's just a little bit each month.
Exactly. Every little bit counts.
And speaking of making your money work harder, they mention high-yield savings accounts.
Oh, yes. Those can be a good option for your emergency fund.
So you're telling me even my emergency fund can be earning some interest?
They usually offer slightly higher interest rates than regular savings accounts.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll have to look into that.
Definitely worth checking out, especially here in Malaysia.
Okay, so we've covered spending less and building a safety net.
2 crucial steps for financial well-being.
What's next on the agenda for a worry-free financial life?
Well, the blog tackles the topic everyone loves to hate, debt. Yeah, it's like that unwanted guest that just overstays their welcome.
Ooh, I know, right?
It can really weigh you down, especially those high-interest credit card debts.
The blog definitely calls those out.
And for good reason, those interest rates can be brutal.
They can make it feel like you're running in place.
Exactly. But the good news is there are ways to break free.
So how do we get rid of this unwanted guest for good?
Well, the blog talks about a couple of strategies.
Okay, I'm all ears.
One is the debt snowball method.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Have you tried it?
I haven't, but I like the idea.
It's all about building momentum. You start by paying off your smallest debts first.
So you get those quick wins early on.
Right, and that can be really motivating.
I can see that. It's like you're building confidence.
Exactly, and then you roll that payment into the next smallest debt and so on.
Like a snowball effect.
And if you're more of a numbers person, they also talk about the debt avalanche method.
Oh, what's that one all about?
It focuses on tackling the debt with the highest interest rate first.
So you save the most money on interest in the long run.
Makes sense, but it might take longer to see those initial wins.
Yeah, that's the trade-off.
It really comes down to your personality and what works best for you.
I like that the blog offers different options because there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
They also mention debt consolidation, which can be helpful if you have multiple debts.
Ooh, debt consolidation. Remind me how that works again.
You basically take out a new loan with hopefully a lower interest rate.
To pay off all those other debts.
Exactly. So you simplify everything. Just one payment, one interest rate.
Streamlining things. I like it.
And there are some decent options for personal loans in Malaysia that could be used for this.
Okay, good to know. Something to consider.
But beyond the financial benefits, think about the emotional relief that comes with getting out of debt.
Oh, yeah. That feeling of freedom must be amazing.
It's incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
It's like you're finally in control of your finances.
And that sense of control ties in perfectly with the next key point from the blog. Budgeting.
The dreaded B word.
I know. Some people hear budget and they run for the hills.
It does have a bit of a negative connotation, doesn't it?
But I've come to realize that budgeting isn't about restriction. It's about empowerment.
It's about taking control of your money, making it work for you.
And the blog really drives that point home.
They actually say that having a budget helps you achieve all those other things we've talked about.
The spending less, the saving more, the debt repayment.
It's like the missing piece of the puzzle.
And they offer a few different methods you can use.
We already touched on the 50-30-20 rule, which is a great starting point.
What about some of the other methods they mention?
Well, there's zero-based budgeting.
This base budget.
What's that? It's all about giving every ringgit a job.
Okay, so every dollar has a purpose.
At the beginning of each month, you decide exactly where every ringgit is going.
So there's no room for impulse spending.
It's a great way to stay on track and make sure your money is aligned with your goals.
Sounds pretty detailed, though.
You can be, but if that level of detail feels overwhelming, they also mention envelope budgeting.
Ah, the good old envelope system.
It's a classic for a reason. It's very visual and tactile.
You literally put cash into different envelopes for different categories.
Groceries, entertainment, transportation, whatever your spending categories are.
It's like a physical reminder of your limits.
Once the cash in the envelope is gone, that's it for that category.
Yeah, I can see how that would be helpful for some people.
And of course, we can't forget about budgeting apps.
Oh, yes, those are a lifesaver.
Technology to the rescue.
They make budgeting so much easier. They track everything for you.
You can see exactly where your money is going, categorize your transactions.
Some even give you insights into your spending patterns.
And you can set financial goals, get bill reminders.
So many helpful features.
It's like having a personal finance assistant in your pocket.
So whether you prefer the old school envelope method or a high-tech app,
It all boils down to finding a system that works for you.
and actually sticking to it.
Consistency is key.
Because when you're in control of your finances,
You're free to focus on the fun stuff.
like making that money work for you.
Which brings us to the blog's final point, investing.
Ah, yes, the exciting part.
No more just saving. Let's talk about growing that wealth.
Okay, I'm ready.
The blog emphasizes the long game, building lasting financial security,
Thinking about the future.
achieving those big life goals, whether it's a dream home, early retirement, travel.
All the good stuff.
But for someone who's completely new to investing,
It can be a bit daunting, right?
where do you even begin?
It's like so many options, so much jargon.
I think the first step is to define your financial goals.
Okay, what are you saving for? What does your dream future look like?
Once you have that clear vision.
All right, so we're wrapping up our deep dive into personal finance, the Malaysian edition.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
Spending, saving, dealing with debt, budgeting.
It's all connected.
But you know what I really appreciate about this blog?
Hmm.
They don't just focus on the practical stuff. They also talk about mindset.
Oh, that's so important.
They actually ask, how do you approach money emotionally?
I love that they bring that up because
Mhm.
our feelings about money can really influence our decisions.
Totally. It's like if you're always worried about not having enough.
You might make choices that actually sabotage your financial progress.
Yeah, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
They talk about the difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
So a scarcity mindset is that feeling of never having enough, always being afraid of running out.
Okay, I think I've been there.
It's common, but it can lead to impulsive spending or even avoiding risks that could actually benefit you.
Makes sense. You're so focused on holding on to what you have that you miss out on opportunities.
Exactly. And then there's the abundance mindset, which is more about believing that there's enough to go around.
Having that feeling of security and possibility.
People with an abundance mindset tend to be more proactive with their finances, more open to new opportunities.
And they probably attract more abundance into their lives.
It's like that saying, what you focus on expands.
So, how do we shift from scarcity to abundance?
I think it starts with awareness, noticing those thoughts and feelings that come up around money,
Catching ourselves when we're spiraling into negativity.
and then gently challenging those beliefs. Are they really true?
Like, is there evidence to support those fears?
Often, those beliefs are rooted in past experiences or things we've heard growing up.
Maybe you had a parent who was always stressed about money.
Or you made some financial mistakes early on, and you're letting those define you.
It's easy to get stuck in those patterns.
But the good news is we can change our mindset. It's a journey.
And it's not just about positive thinking, it's about taking action.
So if you want to cultivate an abundance mindset, start by being grateful for what you already have.
Appreciate the present moment.
Celebrate your financial wins, no matter how small.
And take those steps, even baby steps, towards your goals.
Action creates momentum.
And that brings us back to the core message of this whole deep dive.
Taking those practical steps to create a more fulfilling financial life.
Whether it's tracking your spending, building an emergency fund,
Tackling debt, creating a budget that works for you, investing for the future.
it all adds up.
And remember, be kind to yourself along the way.
Mistakes happen. It's all part of the learning process.
This isn't about perfection. It's about progress.
All right, folks. That's a wrap for today's deep dive into personal finance in Malaysia.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and maybe even some inspiration.
Remember, you have the power to create the financial future you desire.
Believe in yourself and take those steps.
One at a time.
Until next time, happy saving and investing, everyone.
And don't forget to enjoy the journey.